Good morning, everyone. My name is Godfrey Devaputra, working as Associate Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysore. In continuation with the series of lectures that we have been streaming, this is the concept that we are supposed to deal with in the module of Material Requirements Planning, which is the fourth module as per the syllabus. We are dealing with the subject called as Operations Management with the code of 18 MA 56. The concept of tender is one of the most sought after in the government as well as in the private organizations, wherein they call for the process by which government as well as private organizations, they invite bids for large projects that must be submitted within a stipulated deadline. What basically happens when we are speaking about tender is that an organization which is seeking assistance for continuation or assistance in doing work on behalf of the organization or the business firm that we are speaking about, wherein they seek assistance in the form of execution of all the work. So this third party agency, which is not part of the organization, which is outside of the organization, but we're seeking their help in order to execute the project and thereby see completion, and for which they will be paid predefined remuneration or the incentives or the fixed budget or the fixed pricing, as we call, will be paid to the third party supplier. So the concept wherein this particular process whereby a government or a private organization invites bids from the bids for large projects from third party agency that must be submitted within stipulated deadline. So in other instances, the term also refers to the people who are within the organization, who are the shareholders of the business, who can surrender or who can submit their shares or the securities in response to a takeover order. For example, if there is a company which consists of a number of shareholders, and if there is a possibility or an opportunity provided by the organization itself for another person to take over running the business organization, the persons who are within the organization who already have substantial amount of shares and securities can in turn submit the tender to as a response to take over the organization. So tender as a concept is used by various organizations under various organizations in different magnitudes. So when we speaking about tenders, there are obviously several varieties of tenders. Some of them are listed here. The first one is called as the open tender, the selective tender, negotiated tender, term tender. Now, open tender is basically employed by both private as well as the business organization, the government organizations, wherein the open tender is characterized by advertisement in a local newspaper asking the local third party agencies to bid for the said tender to take over the job. Open tender is basically applicable for everybody, so that means to say anybody with a proper business certificate can apply for that particular tender regardless of whether he has the expertise in that particular field or not. Now this obviously has certain disadvantages. The reason is, when we are speaking about open tender, as I told you, even if a person or an organization which does not have an expertise in that particular area where the tender is called for, even those kind of organizations can also apply. So therefore, it may so happen that we may have to compromise with the quality. So the second one tries to eliminate the disadvantages that we have in the open tender. The second one is called as the selective tender. Selective tender is characterized by the tender which is not yet publicly notified in the newspapers, but even before that is done, what happens is there is a short list of the companies or the suppliers that is made available for the company. So what happens is now the probable member of organizations that may apply for the bid are reduced. So therefore, those organizations which already have reputation in the market in the particular area of expertise that is required, only those kind of companies are shortlisted, and then only they are notified to submit the tender. So whereby we are eliminating those companies, those third party agencies which may wish to apply for the tender but with not having sufficient expertise in that particular area what is expected. So this improves, this selective tender by its own characteristics, it improves the drawbacks that we have in the open tender process. The third one is called as the negotiated tender, which is widely used in engineering and construction industry. So what happens in negotiated tenders is that the there may be conflicts before the tender is processed and after the tender is processed also. So what happens is negotiations have to be conducted, or they have to be organized to resolve the conflicts that may arise post tender as well as the pre-tender. So when the negotiations, like the parameters that can be negotiated is the variations in the prices that may happen during the duration of that particular work that is executed prior to the tender being notified, after the tender, like the post tender timings. There may be variations in the prices, there may be variations in the labor law, there may be changes in a number of aspects. So what may happen is the tender, once it was sanctioned, at that particular time the prices may have been at a particular level, and by the time the project is executed, it may have changed. So therefore, in engineering and construction fields, the project is not likely to be completed in 1 day or 2 days. It's going to take substantial amount of time, and by the time the project is started and by the time project is ended, the prices is always likely to vary. So therefore, negotiations needs to happen to accommodate all of these variations. So such kind of a tender process, wherein obviously at the beginning of the project, at the time of sanctioning the tender to a particular agency, the prices may have been fixed. Obviously negotiation would have taken place, but by the time the project is executed, again the prices would have varied, and there is a negotiation that is supposed to happen to come into a consensus wherein both the parties can agree upon the changes in the prices that has happened over that particular period of time. So such being the characteristics of this third negotiated tender process, this is mostly used by engineering industries as well as the construction industries. Usually what happens in negotiated tender is that a single third party agency is always given with that particular tender, but it may so happen that it can also be given to the rest of the we can always also say that we can invite more than one person for the negotiation. So this is negotiated tender, which is slightly a more narrower one, wherein we are speaking only about engineering and construction industries. The fourth one is called as the term tender. What happens in term tender is that those kind of projects which have huge maintenance. What I mean to say is huge maintenance is when we are speaking about constructing a building in a very densely populated area such as Bangalore. What happens is there may be difficulty in handling the material, there may be difficulty in handling the density of vehicles that may be available over there. So because of which the project may not get executed as idealistic as on paper. So therefore what happens is there is always likely to be variation. So therefore you are always likely to incur a lot of maintenance charges. These maintenance charges may also include high-rise building, wherein you are supposed to take a lot of precautions, safety precautions for avoiding casualties. So in all those cases, high maintenance is inherently characteristics of this term tender. So therefore, this term tender is for a huge project which asks for a huge amount of maintenance charges. So this the undertaking has to be loosely defined. It cannot be very stringent because there are always going to be variations. So this underlying the undertaking that will be existing between the organization itself and the third party who is the tender party. This undertaking has to be very loose. It cannot be very stringent. So therefore, it may get changed. It may get extended. It might get modified depending upon the currently available circumstances, and all those kind of variations has to be accommodated in the tender. So, as I told you, open tender, which is a slightly a broader version of the tender concept, and goes to the term tender, which is slightly a narrower one. So these are the types of tender, and we have a number of other types of tenders also, but these are the ones which are mostly used all over the world. Now, before we get into the concept of supply chain and the subsequent concepts, let me here highlight a process which is called as the e-tendering process. So, currently, because of all the digitization that is and which is not likely to stop at any point soon, but it's going to become more. So, e-tendering process has taken over the conventional tendering process. So, just as in the case of a conventional tendering process, here also fundamentally the steps that is available for the tendering remains the same, but the manner in which every single step is basically elaborated and executed, and therefore the tender is awarded towards the end, is slightly changed. It all starts with the tender process, which has to be determined, wherein we are speaking about expressions of interest, requests for information, request for proposal, request for quotation, and request for tender. So these are the 5 items which are basically there in the first process, which is called as the tender process, which is predetermined. Now, when we are dealing with this here, we are basically selecting one of these methods or any of the other methods through which we are seeking information as to why we require to call for a tender, what are the kind of information that is needed in order to take a decision pertaining to calling for tender, requesting for proposal, quotation, etc. All of this information basically we are seeking in order to determine or basically decide whether we really need to get into this tender process. The next step in the e-tendering process, a request for tender is prepared. Once we have decided regarding whether we are going for tendering or not, then detailed information has to be given with respect to description of goods to be produced. So therefore, what is it that we want to do with this tender? That needs to be defined. So description of goods to be produced has to be done. Then conditions of delivery or conditions of terms of delivery conditions of tender basically have to be defined. Then the criteria for evaluation of the tender, except criteria for evaluation of quality, criteria for evaluation of checking, maintenance, etc. All of these kind of aspects has to be briefed out. Then submission format and its contents has to be given to the interested parties. Then process rules, the tendering process rules and the subsequent information has to be given to the interested parties. And then the condition of contract, that is with respect to payment, with respect to the installment with which payment will be made, and all this kind of information has to be given under conditions of contracts. So all of these kind of information and any other information that we may find relevant has to be put in. Although the items that is mentioned here, it covers most of the items that is there in a business organization. Then in the third step, just as in the case of the conventional tendering process, the suppliers, the interested suppliers, they respond to the tender. They take the formats digitally and they fill in the formats and they give all the information and they basically respond. So subsequent to this, the next step is again it is the step which is with the government organization or with the private organization which is calling for the tender. So they are supposed to set a set of rules and regulations wherein they will do something which is called as evaluation and selection. So evaluating based on what parameters? So we are going to understand a number of other parameters or other techniques that is there in order to evaluate a vendor. and then to select the vendor based on some qualitative factor we are going to discuss later on. So therefore, in the fourth step of tendering process, there is evaluation and selection of a third party agency to whom tender has to be given. Now the next step is called as notification and briefing. What I mean to say notification and briefing is when once the tender, when all this process is accomplished, and then there is a decision which needs to be notified to all the concerned people. So that particular process of declaring the results of this process is called as notification. What happens is when we do notification, there may be also chances that the people who have not been selected to give the tender, they may also have certain queries regarding why they did not get the tender. So therefore, a process called as briefing, wherein we call in all the interested parties and explain to them the reasons why they did not get the tender. So this particular process is called as briefing. So notification is declaring of the results and briefing is explaining to the parties who did not get the tender. Once this is done, the contracts which contains the terms of agreement between the organization which is giving away the tender and the organization which has received the tender. So the terms of agreements between these two parties will be established, and subsequently they have to be managed by using parameters such as duration within which, like the time duration within which the project has to be completed, when and all the organization which is offering the tender, when and all they can go and check the project which is under process. All these kind of items, so all these qualitative information will be put in the form of terms of agreement. So this particular process wherein deciding regarding why tender has to be given, how it has to be given, etc., going through on the subsequent process, and finally establishing contract and trying to manage the established contract. This is the steps that is involved in e-tendering process.